All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. And this is going to be a lesson on how Yahweh said he was going to curse us, right? But it was never going to be forever, all right? I'm going to go into that in this lesson. Now, when you go into the curses, right, and then you see how our nation is mocked, all the things that our nation is mocked on are based on the curses, because you notice no one don't go into try and laugh at us about how we're far more superior than them in physical things, because Yahweh never put a curse on it. Well, he has really actually put a curse on us, even in that regard, man. And yet we're still better than all you scumbag heathens, man. We're still better than all you dirty, stinking heathens, even though we're cursed. And you heathens are still not keeping the laws of Yahweh, despite us being cursed. So what makes you think you're better? What makes you think that Yahweh is going to look over us and consider you as being the next in line to be the chosen instead of us? No. You haven't stepped up when we stepped down, man. And what you this chapter that I'm about to read here is something that cannot fit into the doctrine of Christianity, because it disproves their biggest lie, one of their biggest lies, that the Israelites were cast away, which is the reason why they believe that Gentiles even got a chance in the first place, man, which is not true, by the way. It's just not true, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse. So the curse was going to come upon us. And when you go into the book, into the Bible, and go to the Song of Moses, right, before the Israelites had even went off like that, Yahweh was like, they're going to go off. These people are going to go off. They're going to sin against me. I know they're going to, right? He knew they was going to. And then when you read this chapter here, it's also proving that Yahweh knew that they was going to do that, right? And the fact that he knew that he was going to do that, and within Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1 to verse 7, right? This includes the time of the Messiah coming to the earth, being crucified, and everything that happens afterwards too. This includes that. And if you don't believe that, well, then you've got to show me where and what time that the Israelites' minds have been circumcised, that they all know the Lord with all thy heart, with all thy soul. Because if you're saying that the people in the land of Israel are the chosen, well, they ain't all keeping the laws. Because if they are, they'd be blessed, right? And they'd be teaching us the laws now, according to Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. And this is what I mean. When it comes to you Christians, you can't blag it, man. Because there's so many things that if you believe that the Bible is true, you'll realize that, well, if it's true, then this should be happening then. If you're saying that's happening, or that's happened. Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 1, it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all nations with Yahweh thy power have driven thee. Now, one of the things that people try and mock the Hebrew Israelites for is, y'all always go to Deuteronomy 28. Yeah, Hebrew Israelites do always go to Deuteronomy 28 because they're fulfilling Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1. Everywhere that they keep talking about how they're cursed for what they did wrong. But nobody else on the earth does that. The small hats don't do that. They don't believe that anything bad that happens to them is because they're cursed for wickedness, for not doing God's laws. They don't even try and make it a thing where they admit that they're not keeping God's laws. They try and make it like they're keeping them all, when they're not, by the way. But they try and make it like they are. They try and make it like they're doing all the righteousness when they're not. Verse 2, and thou shalt return unto Yahweh thy power. So there was going to be a returning, right? There was going to be a returning, man. And thou shalt return, and the returning was going to be in all the different nations that these Israelites were scattered, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy power, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy power, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul. So it was known that the Israelites are going to go through the blessing and the curse, but them being under the blessing wasn't going to last forever. In this case, but then being under the curse was also not going to last forever. But then eventually, being under the blessed state was going to last forever, because the Israelites are going to be under the new covenant. Now, if you understand the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. There's a reason I named the channel Hebrews 8 and 10, because if you go and look and say, oh, what? I wonder what that Bible verse says, or I wonder what it says. And when you look it up, it's proved right there that salvation ain't for everybody. People can try and say the new covenant is for everyone, but it clearly states in Jeremiah 31 and in Hebrews 8 that it's not for everyone. So what can you say about that? Verse 2 again, and now shalt return unto Yahweh thy power, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I commanded this day, thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity. So the bad situation that the Israelites was going to be in all the different nations that he scattered them while they was under the curse, it wasn't going to last forever. So all you people trying to make it like salvation for everyone, right? You jokers. And it's like the proof that we're the Israelites, right, is that any time that there's anything possible that could be good on this earth for so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, every dirty, filthy heathen, no matter what nation it is, they always want it to be for everyone. But at any time that there's something that could just be for their people, then they only want it to be for their people, right? Just like how when it comes to the Bible, you have all, and the reason why these people are like that is because they're scared, man. And that's why people don't like for Jake to be confident, for Jake to be cocky, because if he starts believing in himself, then what can you do against him, man? What can you do? Especially if he starts believing in himself in the right ways, like, oh, I believe in myself, I'm an Israelite, and I'm going to keep the laws. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because in the book of Judith, the 5th chapter, that Ammonite knew, if these people are doing the right thing, don't even bother waste your time trying to touch them, because you're gonna end up in a bad situation. Verse 3, that then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations with Yahweh thy power have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. That sounds like there's going to be salvation for people from all different nations. But why is it going to be salvation for people that are from all different nations? Because there's Israelites that are in every single nation. But Christianity tries to ignore the prophecies, the continual amounts of prophecies that speak about Israelites that are going to be gathered from every single nation, and doesn't connect the dots with that to Revelation 7 and 9, because they're dumb, right? And because they're dishonest and they're liars. They don't want those two things to be linked. They don't want Revelation 7 and 9 to be linked to Deuteronomy 30 and verse 3 to verse 4, because then what does that mean? That the people in Revelation 7 and 9 are Israelites? And that just proves that them people are not the ones that are going to get salvation, because if you was actually righteous, right? If you was actually a righteous and sincere person, and you heard some people saying, you know what? Salvation is only for Israelites, and the Israelites are going to be scattered from every single nation, and you've got a doctrine that teaches that the church is Israel, right? Why would you care that they're saying that salvation is only for Israel then? Because you would believe that you're that anyway. But you know that you're a filthy heathen, more than likely an Edomite or some other unworthy nation, right? So you're thinking, man, now we've got to make a doctrine that makes it be a thing that our people can have something, because I hate the Israelites so much that I don't want them to have anything. And that's what you people are really doing. You hate the Israelites, man. You don't want the Israelites to have anything good for themselves. You don't want them to, right? You don't want Israel to have anything good for themselves. You want them to just be destitute and distraught, man. But that's not the way it's going to go, though. Like, when I see how some of you people laugh at us some of the time, man, and I see how our nation's mocked, I just think to myself, man, I'm glad that I heard that he even say that. Right? I'm glad that we got more evidence to add onto the list of already evidence that we've got as to why we're going to do to these nations what we're going to do to them, when we've got them in the situation that we're going to get them in, man. I understand why. Because when they hear about Jake getting reparations, even though they shouldn't care either side, it will be a nation that shouldn't care either side. Or why should they get anything? Or why should they only get something? They don't want it to be that. But then when they see our pain, then they'll be like, yeah, everyone's been through pain, and I've got some pain that I want to address as well. But then they don't want to address our pain, though. These nations never want to address our pain, man, because they know they don't want to lose, right? This is the main reason why these nations don't want us to get built back up, you know, because they don't want to lose the unfair advantage that they have over us right now, right? They're already looking at me like, man, these people are already lower than us in financials, in economy, in agriculture. They ain't got no industries that they own, right? But if they was to actually get money, they might actually start to own some of these industries then. And we're already insecure around these people enough as it is. So if these people actually started building up themselves and started owning some things, man, we wouldn't have nothing. And the men of the nations also consider this, man. Their women. I already caught my woman watching these men and looking at them when they're walking down the street. I already see my woman looking at these men. I already see our women of our nation looking at these men now. But we've got the society to where we can kind of make there be a stigma on dating a so-called black man, a Latino, Native American. You know, we've got these stereotypes that we push out on them. So we kind of got it as a thing where, yeah, they don't seem like they're the best guy to date and we're a better option. But when we get changed, like a lot of these these women from these different nations are not going to even want to deal with the men from their nation, man. If it wasn't for how much of a scumbags these were, the way that these people treated us, I'd almost feel sorry for them. A lot of these women of these other nations are not going to want to deal with them when they see what Israelite man looks like, man. It's not going to be fair. It's not going to be fair, man. It's truly not going to be fair. The best of the women of their nations are going to rather be a concubine to an Israelite man than to be with their men of their nation. We'd even be able to, I'm so sure of that, we'd even be able to give them a choice. Okay, so you want to push out wives to one of these Israelite men that can fly, that are immortal, that can do all of these things, and you're going to live in their quarters, look at their house. Or do you want to be with this heathen? And okay, this heathen's kind of built up a bit and he's got his thing going on. Or do you want to be with that heathen? And the women are going to choose every single time, in my opinion, to be with the Israelite man. And so that they can produce a child that's going to be an immortal. They'd rather that. Now, some people can say, oh, nah, that's not going to happen. Okay. But when you're living through it, then what you're going to say? Because if you was to go back to ancient Israel and tell our people that, yeah, okay, you're living in mansions now and you got palaces right now. You got these houses with the battlements on. You're chilling in ancient Israel. But the day is going to come where you're going to be living in a place called Birmingham. And the day is going to come where you're going to be living in a place called Wigan. And the day is going to come where you're going to be living in a place called London. And the day is going to come where you're going to be living in a place called New York, right? And in that place, you ain't going to have no big fancy house. You're going to have a 1-bedroom house, yeah? And it might have a bit of mold on the walls too, yeah? And when you're living in Birmingham, you ain't going to be living no flashy life there, neither. Yeah, and when you're in London, there's going to be bare things called shared houses over there. And there's going to be people that share a house with some next person that they don't know for a price that in another city in that same country that they'd be able to get probably a 2 or 3 bedroom house. Yeah, and it's not going to be nice there. But you're going to have to stay there because the money that you make there is better than the money you make outside of it. So you're going to get, translation to sum it up, you're going to be fucked. Yeah? You think that them men in ancient Israel that would have been in garments with fringes on. Yeah? With fringes on, yeah? Sandals, feet, toes blowing in the wind in Israel, man. Yeah? Kadar, strong as hell. Abs flowing through their garments. Yeah? 22-inch biceps and all that. Right? Jake just strong as hell. Yeah? Eating bread with honey. Herbs. Yeah? Ginger and all that. Avocados. Flipping cucumbers, the leeks, the mangoes, the melons. You think that they would have believed that back then, that we'd be living like how we're living now? No, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have believed that back then. Just like how you people don't believe what you're being told right now, but you're going to see it though. Ha 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 ha. Black people ruling the world and the so-called white man picking cotton. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, right. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. All right. But don't cry. Because remember you was told it now. Remember you was told it this day and many other days, man. Remember you was told it, man. Yeah, don't cry when it see it fall upon you. Verse 5. And Yahweh thy power will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. I mean, we're going to be way greater than the kingdom that you read about of King David, of King Solomon. We're going to be better than that, right? We're going to be better than that, man. Our kingdom is going to be greater than that. The kingdom that we're going to receive in the future is better than that. Verse 6, and Yahweh thy power will circumcise thine heart. And this is the proof that we know that this has not happened yet. And Yahweh thy power will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy power with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And this is also how we know that this hasn't happened. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hated thee, and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And this is the one that really makes me like feel warm inside my soul, man. Because all the things that you people laugh at us about right now and laugh at our nation about, yeah. Oh, but black people are killing black people. Oh, but look at their family, look at their women. That's gonna be your women. It's gonna be your Indian woman. You're gonna be shaking her head. They shake their head enough as it is. They're gonna be shaking their head. Elam woman's gonna be shaking their head, saying to Akhtar and Sagdeep, Sagdish and all that. She's gonna be saying to him, why ain't you ain't a man enough? She's gonna be bunning him out, man. The Edomite woman is gonna be doing that to the Edomite man. The Ishmaelite woman is gonna be doing that to the Ishmaelite man. They're gonna be comparing they're gonna be comparing you, mortal men, to immortal men. You know how unfair that is. They're gonna be whenever they look at their men and they might feel content for a time and then they just see an Israelite man fly, they're gonna feel uncontent, man. And you're gonna feel uncontent. You're going to be like, man, damn, he just flew. I can't do that. And some of you stupid heathens might be so dumb that you might try and do it. You might be like, the Israelites are not the only ones that can fly. Watch this. Behold me. Behold me. In the name of your fake God. And you might try it, man, and just floor flat straight. Spaghetti bolognese on the floor, man. You're not us, right? And we're not you. And it's going to be shown when Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai gives us our power back, man. He said we was going to be cursed. Oh, he said we was going to be cursed, man. Anyone that actually knows what they're talking about and knows what they're reading when they read the Bible, it's right in here. The Israelites was going to be cursed. But it was not going to be forever, though. It was never going to last forever. Right? The curse that they went through was never a thing that was going to last forever. Ever. Never. It was never prophesied to be a thing that lasted forever. In fact, the thing that's going to last forever is the kingdom that they're going to be given. And the blessed state that they are going to be in. According to the new covenant, man. An everlasting kingdom, an everlasting covenant. That's what was written to be forever. Not the curses. But the curses are going to be upon you, on you heathens, though. That's what I do know. And then let's see if you want to laugh and say, oh, that's an excuse. Oh, y'all just say Deuteronomy 28 as an excuse for why y'all bums. Or y'all just say Deuteronomy 28 as an excuse for why y'all can't get y'all women in order. Deuteronomy 28, right? The physical things that take place on earth do not stop the spiritual significance of Deuteronomy 28. The physical things that take place to make Deuteronomy 28 fulfilled do not matter. But it was prophesied that Deuteronomy 28 was going to happen to us. So the physical ways that there's more than one way that you could make Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1 for most of the prophecies anyway come to pass. When it comes to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, that's obvious. That's slavery on ships, right? But the size of the ship could change, right? The journey of the ship could change, right? The journey could change, right? But the method, or that it was even prophesied to happen, was written to happen. And on that, I'm going to say shalom, man.